Hello and welcome to today's session. I really want to talk about the inner child and how this is actually affecting your growth. And sometimes we are not even aware that this is holding us really back. And so when I'm working with my clients, right, it's about understanding that there is always something in our past that made us the way we are today. And that's fine, that's okay. Now, when we think about our behavior, how we feel about certain things, then it is quite crucial to understand from where this is coming from. And is this actually something where we want to work on? And so, whenever people are saying, I don't want to work on this anymore, I don't want to work on the inner child, I don't want to do this work, I understand. Now, the truth is, though, this is a continuous practice and healing and understanding and growth way beyond. Um, Way beyond just I'm doing this once or twice. It goes really in circles, and it takes a lot of patience from us, actually, to really feel more in alignment with who we are. And so the idea of the inner child is that when we are growing up, we are receiving certain attachments, conditions, beliefs, emotions from our caretakers, from our parents, from people who are around us. And so, what this is actually doing is we are copying those kind of behaviors. If they're good or bad, it's not really relevant because we are trying to survive. Now, I have been in a workshop recently with Gabor Mate in Basel, and it was really about that, you guys. He was really referring on two categories of what a child needs, and when we start to understand this, it's not our fault. It's not your fault that you are at this place at this moment, but now you are in charge. Back then, you didn't have many options, and here is why. So this is about having an attachment, really, and having this authenticity, right? So authenticity is about being yourself, expressing yourself, doing things that expand you, that helps your soul, right? It's quite on a big level talked. Now, the attachment on the other side is the survival, okay? It's about you as a human being want to survive. You want to be nurtured a certain way. And you can imagine that if you have the choice, if you have the choice as a child to decide, do you want to be authentic or do you want to have the closeness with your caretaker? Most probably you're going to take the closeness because you're dependent on them. Okay, you're relying on them on a certain level, and when you're a child, your possibilities in that direction are very limited. So if your parent doesn't understand you, or may not even have the capacity to do so, you see, most of the time, even parents, they do have some healings to do. They do have some growth to do, and it's not always easy. You see, this is not about blaming. This is about understanding yourself, because now you are in position to change it. So if we are going down this road, right, and if you're always choosing them over you, what is this doing for yourself, right? What is this doing from the little me to the big me? And this actually means that you are not you think that your emotions and the way how you feel has no value, because there is always someone who has more value than you. So what you're doing is you're pushing yourself back, right? I mean, this is like one of the huge things at this moment of what I can see is abandonment issues, where we really see that we place other people before us, not seeing our own needs, not seeing our own feelings, right? We put them in front of us because that's how we thought is the correct way. We haven't really learned how to be our authentic self. You see, that's what we are learning right now, to be ourselves, to really grow into what we want to become. Now, this isn't an easy process at all, and this isn't about shaming. This is not about your parent did everything wrong, or you as a parent are doing everything wrong. Don't get me wrong on this point. It's about to understand that when we are an adult, we have certain ways of behavior that actually has been handed down to us. And that's not really about logical or unlogical. This is just a copy-paste mechanism we are doing, you see. It's not a question when you're a child to decide really what should I take here and what not. No, we just copy it, and this is not about verbally speaking. So if we are looking at relationships, right, what relationships do you have with your partner, for example, as a parent? Now the child will actually look into this and somehow have the reference on how a relationship looks like, because you are, as a parent, their reference, right? You are their persona to go to. And so what happens is that we start to create this world that is actually not even ours. We have then this little mini me who has, behaviors and strategies and coping mechanisms and all of that, and the way how we choose people, for example, the way how we live, the way how we feel, the way how we think, and that all of it is coming from quite an early age. And so it's really interesting to understand this point. So whenever you're behaving right now in a childish kind of position, which is about, you're really getting triggered. And by triggered, I don't mean that you are going totally crazy. By triggered, I mean that whenever you feel off, and by this, you have a conversation, and within this conversation, something really bugs you. And you're like, why does this person think this way? Meh, 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 meh. And then your self-talk starts, okay? You start to create your own story, and it gets quite maybe dramatic, maybe enraged, maybe you're getting jealous or something like this, okay? Which is actually not from a grounded perspective, okay? From a calm perspective. It's not a normal reaction. This is good for you to know, because that means that here may be something to look into. You see, you're reacting this way because it's a learned behavior. See, people learn behaviors, but they learn it early on. And so if we don't like what we show up right now in this present moment, we gotta go a little bit back and understand this little child who uses these tragedies to actually now feel safe. And so I really believe that the more we understand how we grew up, the more we can change. Because if we don't understand why we are, I don't know, running after someone who is emotionally not available, if we are doing certain things and we don't know why, and sometimes, yes, you don't always need a why, that's totally true too, but sometimes you just really do. You do need to understand why you're doing certain things, you know? And when this is clear, when this is understanding, or you gained an understanding in this point, you're like, oh wow, now I really get it. Like, now I understand why I was doing it. Aha. Okay, so now how can I interact the next time? How can I make this a little bit better? How can I change my wordings? How can I change the way I behave or act? You see? So there are various different things that you can actually do, but really the inner child is about understanding this little me, this little version, and really embrace her or him to its full, you know? We don't like to put our parents as the bad ones, and it takes us a long time to see what has happened to us. And the thing is that we don't choose to push our parents to the wall. That's not what a child is usually doing. And that's why it's so hard on us, because we are living in pain while we don't see what is actually really going on behind the curtains, you see. So when we are looking into the full picture and we see, okay, this is what I learned, this is how I grew up, this is the environment, because the environment we grew up, this is massive. This is so big. There are so many studies on this, on how this is impacting us. And so whenever you think like, yeah, but this is already like 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, so what? Your body actually has saved this information, and you will act accordingly until you die, unless you are actually working on it. Unless, okay? There is always the chance to work on it, but you gotta go through it. And so this little me version is just trying to do her very best, or his best. And the thing is that when we are grown up, this little me version isn't going away, because we actually need her or him. You see, there are very much positive things about these little mini versions of us, which is about being playful, being creative. That's all coming from this childish perspective. And if we are just pushing her away and not really allowing her to be in our life and being present, and all this really is about self-soothing, and it's about understanding her in such a big way that we have never been understood by our parents. It's about to reparent yourself on a very big level. And when we are reparenting ourselves, we are holding ourselves. Okay? It means that we are acknowledging how we feel. It means that everything is allowed to be there. If I feel jealous, if I feel angry, if I feel afraid. And then you are going into a state where you're like, okay, well, what would this little child need right now? And then you give it to yourself. Is it a hug? Is it just being understood? Start to self-talk to you, Like the self-talk is so crucial, and we just we hear it all day long and we think there's nothing really behind it, while this inner child is like really present and blah 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 blah, and giving you so many things, so many indicators how unhappy she or he is, and we're just ignoring. We are just thinking that's normal. Well, no, it's not normal. It's the way how we treated her. By also not acknowledging while we were an adult, we actually even self sabotaged ourselves, which is even a pain on the top, right? We made her or him suffer even more because we didn't acknowledge how we felt in the younger years. And the truth is that our parents, our caretakers, whatsoever, they did the best they could with the knowledge they had. However, this doesn't mean that your need was covered. This doesn't mean that their best was in your best interest or what you needed. See, a child really needs to be heard, seen, and acknowledged, and that's pretty basic. So, in my own example, I have dealt with things like being ignored, and this always happened to me when they didn't really know how to deal with me. So I got ignored, and they thought that this will actually soothe me and, kind of make my frustration level, I will calm down or something like this. So it wasn't really with a bad intention. The problem was I felt ignored, not seen, not heard, totally unappreciated. I felt my feelings have zero value. I felt that if I'm speaking up, I will just, be left alone. And so what happened afterwards was that I was actually looking for partners who would actually be exactly the same, right? Who would give me exactly what I've learned, right? And so that's the thing. You afterwards are actually in this position where you are seeking for healing, okay? I wouldn't say it's like, you need to learn lesson, and it always sounds really brutal, I found. At least when I was really in deep pain, I was like, really, screw that healing, screw all of it. Really, I'm fed up with it, and I'm just really done. So I was really pissed. I didn't want to do it. But I realized that when we are really trying to heal, we are getting people in our life who will show us exactly where is our pain. And no, that's not always cool. Actually, yeah, it's mostly not so cool. But you know what is really uncool is when you are in those situations over and over again, and you are not realizing that you are in it and why you're in it. So this is at this point is why I'm offering one-on-one coachings, is to have a different perspective and to see it from another level, and to understand and really release that pain and that suffering. Because most of the time when we suffer for quite a long time, we are also creating our stories, and we make it big, and it's about to release all of that and letting go of what used to happen, but also not recreating our stories. And for that, we need to be quite aware. We need to be aware of what that actually means. What does it mean, right? What does it mean to grow? What does it mean to have a fulfilled life? How does that look like? And how have I lived so far? Am I repeating patterns? This is a high sense for you to check in when your inner child is activated. If you're dealing with circumstances that just remind you on previous ones, it's a big alarm sign. actually not alarm sign, it's just a sign for you. A sign for you to recognize, oh, maybe here something is ongoing that I need to look into, you see. And if you're missing it, because sometimes we don't want to hear, sometimes we don't want to do it, and so we keep ignoring, and then it returns at another stage, so that's okay too. But it's about to understand that whenever something like this shows up, don't delay. You see, don't delay. Start doing this work and start really being soft with yourself, being gentle. How would you talk with your best friend? Would you really do the self talk in that level of what you're doing with that? Now that I don't say anything wrong, I missed the point. Wait. Yeah, right. If you are having your self talk and you are observing your self talk, make sure that you are talking to yourself as you talk to your best friend, with the most kindest words, with the most passionate and loving and caring feelings that you actually can at this very moment bring up. Okay, so don't point fingers, don't start to blame yourself, because this ultimately, that's already what you had. It's not going to make you feel better, it's not going to make you heal faster. No, it's not. All you need to do is to accept what actually is, acknowledge how you feel, and then going back into your body and asking, where have we felt this before? You see, what we are doing here right now in this adult life is sometimes just repeating patterns from our past. And when we are repeating patterns from our past, from our childhood, for example, we want to know if we want to do this again. We want to know if we want to repeat them again. Well, maybe you are done. Maybe you're fed up with it. Maybe you're fine because it serves what it needs to serve, right? So you got to check in and find for you what helps and what doesn't. And so the more you are aware, the more you are authentic, because remember, you don't need to rely anymore on a parent. You are not hopeless anymore or helpless. You have the choice right now. You are in the position to choose. You are in position to create your own life. Create. So life is really not just happening to you, but for you. And so when we are in pain, it's so hard to see that. It's so hard. I found this so hard and really not funny at all. I was really like, yeah, yeah. I know and understand that point, but it's actually really true. It's really, really true. So I think we are in the end of this live stream. With this, I really let you go. Don't forget to subscribe and really be patient with yourself. Try to do as much as you can. And if that means rest for a day, then it means rest for a day. Be patient with yourself and start doing the work, but doing it slow and steady instead of a race and you want to be done in 2 days, because really you're never done. You see, I've learned that we have to all do this in a regular way, and by doing this in a regular way, it just means that you need enough also joyful time where you enjoy yourself, where you laugh, where you smile, and then you can go back and go into these topics, because eventually it will actually light up. Your vibration will go up because you feel better, you do better, you feel emotionally more secure, you feel more safe from within, confidence comes along, you have different perspectives, you meet new people, you have new opportunities, all of this, and it comes in waves. And so you need a slow and steady approach. That's way better than going and racing. You don't need a sprint. You need to be able to run this smoothly, right? All right. So thanks so much for joining. Have a great day ahead. Don't forget to smile. And if you're interested to work with me, then have a look into the description box. There is actually at this moment still a sale going on. So check this out. And with this, I'd say bye.